I've got to say, not only have I been blown away by Peach's gesture of donating that guitar to me, this one here, I'm also blown away by this guitar, to be honest with you. So I thought I'd put together this video comparing it to one of my master built Fender Strats. I mean, there's literally 1,000% price difference between the player. In fact, more than that, which is quite scary really, isn't it? So what are the differences straight off the bat? Well, the main one I feel actually is the weight of them. This one weighs 8 pounds and 3.5 ounces. And this one is 7 pounds exactly. And to put it into context, the USA Fender standard Strat that I've got from 1989 weighs 6 pounds, 14.5 ounces. So this isn't a very, very, very light one. But this feels heavy in the hand. It's not extremely heavy though. I'm sure there are 9 pound ones out there. Let's hear a bit more. Now, this one here is an HSS, which I think is fantastic. It's such a versatile Strat sort of pickup setup, you know, to have that humbucker in the bridge position. This one is a 50 style one, so it's like a 57 type. And the first thing I notice is the sound difference. This one sounds more like the original 50s ones I've played. You know, it's somewhere between a Telecaster and a Strat in some ways. You know, it's a bit more blunt and it's not as stratty. And I feel like this one is the real modern take on the stratty sound, which I think comes from, you know, John Mayer and people like that, and from not from the earliest period of Strats. But that's okay, because, you know, it's the Fender player Strat of now. It doesn't have to sound like an old one, for example. But I picked this one because it's got a maple board and it's got a tremolo. And so there is a sort of comparison there. Now, what I've done in the next part of this video is filmed some clips in isolation between these two, but also between an HSS master built I've got, so that you can hear the humbucker on that compared to this humbucker. So today we're playing through my Bartel Roseland. It's in a blackface sort of tone setting. And on top of that, for most of this, we've got the Blues Power and that's by King Tone, and we've got the blue side of the Protein pedal. And this is the pink Protein that's actually being sold or raffled in the same raffle as this guitar. And actually, I should talk about that for a second right here. This guitar is being raffled along with a pink Marshall amp that's going to come to the channel really soon. So they're going to be raffled as a package together just before Christmas time. The raffle is going to go on sale in a few weeks' time. I want to get the amp in and make a little bit of content first. They're going to be £5 a ticket. And that money is going to breast cancer now. It's a breast cancer charity that really specializes in research and care. And if you haven't seen my project so far, it's because my wife is going through breast cancer, and I'm just really passionate about wanting to raise money so we can get more and more research out there. It's so important. But anyway, back to the guitar stuff. Let's start by hearing some comparisons. I thought we'd actually start with the bridge position because my instinct would be to start with the neck, and I thought let's do something a bit different here, and I'm really impressed by the bridge position on this guitar. Okay, I can't believe how huge the bridge pickup sounds on this pink guitar. It is awesome. You know, I was going to talk about the negative sides to this guitar in a minute, but let's just start talking about the pickups. I don't think I would change this humbucker. I think it does absolutely what it's supposed to do. It's thick enough. It's got enough harmonics coming out of this guitar. It overdrives enough. It's not ice picky. It's just really good. So I'm really impressed by it. Obviously, in comparison to my Paul Waller Strat, which has the HSS, they're different. The Waller is a 50s inspired guitar using a humbucker, and it's voiced to have a slightly more 50s thing. And that guitar is very special, but it's also not a trem guitar, so it is naturally going to have a slightly different focus to it. But I think in a blind test between the two, some people would prefer the humbucker in here. It's got more of that wall of sound, slightly more modern sound to it. And some people would prefer the Waller HSS depending on their preferences. Okay, let's hear the neck positions. So again, I think the pink guitar does actually a really good job here. I mean, the Ron Thorn and the Waller, it's not like they're miles and miles better. I mean, this pink guitar at this price is way better than I imagined it to be. I'd be really interested to compare it to, say, like the American standard of today, and that's something I might be able to do in future. But boy, Would I change the pickup on here? Possibly. It does get a little bit ice picky on the high end compared to the other two, but there's plenty of sustain. It does, with the edge of breakup sound that I'm using, you know, you get lovely double stops and things that I'm looking for. And this guitar is just resonant. I don't know if every single one of these is, but, you know, they've got roasted maple necks, which are, you know, going to be a little bit more stable. I've heard people worry about necks on the slightly cheaper guitars, maybe moving or warping and things like that. The fretwork, surprisingly good. I can imagine that it probably needs a little bit more leveling if I'm just looking at it with my eye, but there's no sharp edges or anything like that. So I'm quite happy with them. I wouldn't change them straight away. I don't know what material exactly they're made of or if they're the highest quality, so they might wear more quickly. But when you replace them, you could replace them with the top end stuff. You know, the actual fret wire material isn't that expensive, even on the great stuff. So that's not a big thing. If I was talking about other negatives at this point, the tuners are not as nice to use and they're not quite as stable, I noticed. Is that a deal breaker? Certainly not if you're playing at home, and probably not if you're playing gigs either. You know, you can retune between songs or whatever you need to do. It's not drastic. For the studio, there might be an issue, and I haven't checked the intonation, but then intonation isn't perfect on the master built one. So, you know, I can imagine that it definitely won't be any better than that. And apart from the weight, there aren't really any negatives at this price. This is a limited edition model, by the way. I don't think I mentioned that. And so that's another really cool thing about it being in the raffle. You know, there's not a lot of these going to be around in future. Right, let's hear the middle pickups position, and then we'll hear some stuff in the mix. And I'll throw the other two positions at the end of the video if you want to hear them and see what you think. I think the middle position is where I start to hear a bit more of the coarseness of this guitar sound on here. It's not as sort of pretty as the Ron Thorn, and it's not as great sounding as the Waller. I mean, that just is what it is. I did notice when I played the guitar clean, the clarity on the master built guitars is slightly better, but not hugely better. And then the master builts have a slightly more extended sort of feeling of dynamic range, you know, a little bit more at the low end. You just hear a little bit more throughout the whole frequency. You know, there's, I don't know if you'd use the word hi-fi or whatever. I think if you put them in a blind test, it would all come down to preference. This is what has shocked me. Well, I say shocked. It shouldn't shock me. I mean, the Strat is a reasonably simple design of guitar. You know, the price difference is down to scarcity, marketing, yes, nicer materials, yes, probably lighter weight in most cases, yes, slightly better hardware, but the difference in price between hardware is not thousands of pounds. You know, it's dozens of pounds, maybe a few £100. So, I guess it's okay if you can afford the master built, because obviously when you come to sell it, if you ever do, you're going to still get a lot of your money back. So in that sense, if you've got the money up front, it even can be an investment. With some of the master builders, it can go up in value. So that element comes into it, and they're just more unique to look at. You know, each piece of wood is probably selected by the master builder. There's a lot of controversy as to how much work is done by the master builder. I'm not going to get into that here. This is down to pure playing terms. If I was going out to play a gig, 100% I'm taking that one. You know, unless I was a well-known musician playing in big places with security, probably not going to take that unless, I don't know, there's a real reason for me to do so. You know, if there's a real guitar sort of crowd, maybe you take that one. But if you're playing in any sort of band that's not doing like jazz or blues, where the guitar is a real upfront element of it, this guitar is just fantastic for a lot of rock stuff, for pop stuff, for covers, for anything like that. I'm so impressed with what the current player Strat is, having never, well, not played one for years. Let's hear them in the mix, because I imagine this will confuse me even more. So I think in the mix here, you can really start to tell some of the differences. When I was playing, the Thorn guitar just felt a lot more dynamic. Like I could really go lower and it would still sort of come through. The neck pickup in here is definitely not as dynamic. If I go to the fingers or I start to roll it back, it just doesn't quite have the presence. But I do think if you're spending, what, £700 on that, or if you win it in the raffle, spending 100 quid on tuners, it's probably not that much. I would just go the whole hog. If you like the resonance of the guitar, you can just probably improve it with a new and lighter tremolo system, new tuners that are a bit more stable and maybe more sort of vintage style. These aren't the vintage style ones. You wouldn't have to do the fret straight away, but you could get them leveled if you're doing this work in the first place. And new neck and middle pickups. So you're probably looking at 300 quid all in, £1,000. It'd be absolutely amazing. I think for blues stuff, and if you're trying to really make a statement, you know, you can't go wrong with a Masterbuilt. But the price difference is so overwhelming, it just doesn't make sense how close they really could be. I think it'd be really interesting to do some sort of pickup swapping in here. Maybe I could do that before it gets given away. And so you actually have new pickups in there. That could be an episode in itself. Of course, we're still going to make the pink parts caster, which I'm going to relic in a video. And that's got a pink finish a bit like this, but it's got another colour that I don't know what that colour is under that pink. I don't even know what colour is under there. So I'm going to relic that in a video. My first time relicking. I'm really excited to try it out. I've got some tips from someone who's good at it. And I'm going to be putting that together with the Sunbear pickups that I'm getting for those. Then we're going to compare those, the parts caster versus this, which will have cost about the same amount, really. I'll go through that in a video. But what would I say in the end for this? The difference is not 1200% or whatever the price difference is. That's for 100% sure. Do I regret having a Masterbuilt like this? I don't regret it at all. It fits what I want so well, and that's what the custom shop is about. I think people perhaps overstate, because of the price difference, they think the custom shop must be so much better. Well, yeah, it's going to have better materials and it's going to have better workmanship, but it's the same design of guitar. So ultimately, there's only so much difference it can have. What you do get is something almost unique from the Masterbuilt. You know, like the custom shop, normal custom shop relic jobs, I believe, are done to some sort of patterns, whereas these ones are done not to pattern, they're done to taste. And so that gives you that extra, the name of it. And the fact, I think if there wasn't a decent secondhand market where you could get quite a lot of your money back, people wouldn't buy them. But they're in demand. They're in demand enough for that to be the case. Overall, I'm amazed at this. Certainly, as I said, for small gigs and things, and certainly if I was in a covers band, I would definitely use this, because that humbucker is actually glorious. I'm definitely not going to change the humbucker in there. So look, if you go down in the description, you'll see a website address for my project, the Pink Guitar Project. And if you sign up for the newsletter on the front page there, I will be telling you when the raffle starts and what else is in the raffle, and also when the auction of the other more boutique items is going to be. But for now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. We can just finish out with the sort of in-between positions. And you can just tell me what you think in the comments. But overall, super impressed with this, and really interesting to have the comparison between the two. And there'll be a bit more content along this lines, comparing this maybe to some other Strats. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Thank you.